Chapter 1. Discovery. Why do we bother? Are you one of those people who earn well but don't know where your money goes every month? Perhaps you make money for your company or boss but yearn to be self-employed. Do you ever get the nagging feeling that your money should be working for you rather than you always having to work for your money? Well, you're not alone. That was me in 1998, just a few years ago. I used to gaze at my wage slip, willing it to change, willing the net sum earned to get bigger, as if by magic and willpower, and wishing I could make it grow. I sensed that there was more to this money business than met the eye. It was almost as if there was a secret key that I didn't have to unlock the answers to money management and wealth creation. So would you like the good news or the bad news first? The good news is that people who can handle money have access to a few key pieces of knowledge that many people will never know. Perhaps they learned those tricks from a family member, taught themselves, or just knew it in their bones. However they came by, it doesn't matter. You're going to learn their tricks too. The bad news? Well, there's no secret key or magic wand. Sorry. You'll have to stop waiting for that knight in shining armour, windfall or lottery win. If you really want to change things for the better, you will have to take some action and little by little start to change your beliefs, behaviours and attitudes around money. So why do it at all? The first important thing is to find your motivation. You can pay any number of experts to help you out, but at the end of the day, it's down to you. No one will ever care as much about your financial well-being as you do. Just think about how it would feel to work because you want to, make confident financial decisions, never have to answer to anyone again. How great would it be to listen to the news knowing that you're unlikely to be affected by redundancies, to make life choices based on other criteria about whether you can afford it, to feel strong and supported with a financial cushion behind you, and to give back to your community in some way and make a difference. Here's your first action step. It's called the Tuesday exercise. Write down how you would like to be living your life on a Tuesday in perhaps 2, 5 or 10 years' time, whenever you think you want to be successful. Write down where you live, who you're with, and what you're doing from the moment you get up to the moment you go to bed. Try and make it a really compelling story. If you're struggling, go back to it again and again and try and build a vivid and specific scene. See your life when you're a success, feel how you feel, smell the smells and specifically feel the emotions, the joy, the happiness and above all, the gratitude. Here are some questions to get you started. Where do you live? What do you live in? Which country do you live in? Who are your friends? What hobbies do you have and how often do you do them? What do you do for personal fulfillment? Describe your relationship with your significant other or children. How much time do you spend together and what do you do together? How many hours a day do you work? When do you work in the day? What do you do when you're working? What are you personally responsible for? What are your clients or customers like? Describe your work environment. Talk about your team. Nobody makes it alone, by the way, but your team can be either employees or outsourcers. What about what you do makes you proud? What time do you wake up in the morning? How, where, what and with who do you spend the morning? How, where, what and with who do you spend the afternoon? How, where, what and with whom do you spend the evening? Here's a quick tip. If you struggle with this exercise, one of the most important in the book, it sometimes helps to reverse the questions and start with what you don't want. Now here's a wealth warning. Are you thinking of skipping this exercise and reading or listening on? That's the first hurdle most people fall at. Many people read all the books and attend all the courses, yet they never take action and they wonder why things stay just the same. The first step to taking action in the big wide world is to do these exercises in this book. So if you think that this step is pie in the sky and can be bypassed, be warned. If you can't be bothered to do this particular exercise properly, you will probably never be able to create financial abundance for yourself. Successful people take the time to create powerful visions for themselves. It makes the goal setting so much more fun and takes away the need for self-discipline. Here's a quote from Rich Schefrin. from his fantastic business blueprint. Rich is one of my business mentors, and his website is strategicprofits.com. Rich says, once you define your ideal day, you'll immediately find being more aware of your priorities puts things in perspective. Focusing on a brighter future, like your ideal life, pulls you towards it. Focusing on an ideal future relaxes the mind and helps you to respond correctly, not react, to whatever situations come your way. So what are the 4 lanes of the wealth superhighway? This huge feeling of relief washed over me when I realised that there are just 4 ways to create real, lasting, sustainable wealth, a bit like the 4 lanes on a motorway. I'll be going into each of the 4 lanes of the wealth highway in more detail later on, but for the moment, think to yourself, phew, that's not too overwhelming. Anyone can learn about just 4 things. Those 4 lanes are property investment. There are at least 10 ways to invest in property. The stock market. Most wealthy people have exposure to equities in one form or another. Minding your own business, even if you have a job right now. And profiting from your passion, which means creating passive revenue streams that make you money while you sleep. Each lane has a myriad of vehicles to ride in. Perhaps a push bike will suit you better than a juggernaut initially, and maybe you'll want more than one vehicle in each lane. Each vehicle will produce different results in terms of outcomes. Are you looking for results while you travel, income, or a slow, steady travel, growth that gets you in the air? Each lane has a myriad of vehicles to ride in. Perhaps a push bike will suit you better than a juggernaut initially, and perhaps you will want more than one vehicle in each lane. Each vehicle will produce different results in terms of outcomes. Are you looking for results while you travel, brackets, income, or slow, steady travel, brackets, growth, that gets you there in the end? We all have our preferred driving styles. Which is yours? Decide if you are a push bike person or a Ferrari person. Both will get you there, but one will be faster. Think about which lane of the motorway you're going to drive down first. And no, you don't have to get a vehicle on all of them to start with, but you can be aware that the more vehicles you have on each lane, the faster you will get to your destination. So what is your destination? Where are you now? Because one thing's for sure, if you don't know where you are now financially, you are less likely to be able to get to your destination successfully. Because, well, think about it for a minute. If you don't know where you are now, you're lost, aren't you? If you're trying to get to Manchester, but you don't know where you're starting out from, you're much less likely to get decent directions. Now think about how big and powerful a vehicle you'd like on each lane, or whether you'd feel more comfortable with a myriad of little vehicles on each lane. Think about what kind of a driver are you. Self-discipline versus simplicity. I don't actually believe in self-discipline. I believe in creating a compelling vision, setting chunked down goals with timelines, setting things up so they are as easy to achieve as possible, and then designing environments and support systems to ensure your success. We have talked a bit about the compelling vision, and the next thing to consider is simplicity. The secret to financial success is to KISS. Keep it simple, smarty. I've tried every accounting package under the sun. Microsoft Money worked for a while, but they're all just too complicated. You don't need all that stuff. A simple Excel spreadsheet that tracks your bank account and feeds into an 18-month cash flow forecast will do the job nicely. I have an Excel spreadsheet already set up for this purpose. If you'd like a copy, then come along to the Money Gym blog and join Money Gym Silver for the 30-day free trial. Then you can download the spreadsheet from the cash flow section in Module 3. Learn how to use Excel fast. Nothing fancy, just a few simple basics. Try the tutorial, read a book. There must be an Excel for Dummies book somewhere. Or get a local computer-savvy teenager in for a few hours to show you how to set up a simple formula to add rows of figures up so that if you change one of the figures, the total changes. Each week, I take my cash flow forecast, which is set up to predict my income and outgoings weekly, not monthly, and I compare it to what has actually happened in my bank account in the last week from a printout from my internet banking. I bold the items that actually happened until the carried forward point, matches the total in my bank account up until that point, and then I carry forward any items that I predicted but that haven't happened. This feeds through into a simple set of management accounts, which also tells me what my income tax provision and VAT payable should be. I move those sums into my business deposit account and make a note accordingly. Then the next week I do the same. Don't overcomplicate things. This technique enables me to know the impact that every bill, every cash point withdrawal, every amount earned will have on my finances, often up to 18 months in ahead. I can see any potential problems in plenty of time to do something about them. And that brings financial peace of mind. Which is a pearl beyond price. My first wealth mentor, property investor and Channel 4 secret millionaire Jill Fielding, always used to say that if your finances can't be fitted onto a simple spreadsheet, it ain't working. I also once worked for an entrepreneur who said that if a deal couldn't be demonstrated on the back of a fag packet, it was no good. Jill's finances are very sophisticated in terms of ease of use and earning power, but very simply laid out, just a simple spreadsheet. Don't make it harder for yourself. Force yourself to keep it almost baby-like. How to pull it all together. The oil that lubricates your money-making vehicles is information. How can you make good decisions if you don't have all the information you need at your fingertips? Here is where we gather together everything you will need into one place. Don't worry now, you won't have to do anything with it just yet. Here's an action step. First of all, gather the equipment. You will need a ring binder or two, some coloured file dividers, minimum of 5, plastic wallets, also known as slippery fish, to keep small items and loose sheets in, a hole punch and a stapler. You also need 3 pens, black, red and blue or green. Gather everything together first, because if you need to get up from your seat for anything, you will get distracted by the kettle, the washing or the cat, and you'll lose momentum. Next, gather the information. Recent bank statements, credit card statements, wage slips or sales invoices if you're self-employed. Put the tax stuff in a separate pile. File the bank statements in the front section in date order with oldest items at the back. File credit card statements similarly. Next, the money in section, wage slips or invoices. Then the money out section, receipts or invoices for things you buy. How much more you divide each section in is up to you. Again, keep it simple to start with. Get a printout from the bank of all current direct debits or standing orders and file those in the bank section too. Here's a wealth building exercise, your financial table. You'll find it in the book. You now have all the information to be ready to complete the financial table. You may not be able to complete this yet totally, but don't panic, hold on to it until you feel ready. It's important as it will create a financial snapshot of where you are right now. And if you don't know where you are now, how will you know if you're making any progress in the future? If the worst comes to the worst, just put in an estimation of your current net worth and then fill in a figure for your ideal future net worth. If you do feel able to tackle the whole exercise, this is how we'll go about it. The Pound Now column. Go down the list of headings and fill in the current value of your assets. Hooray! And the liabilities. Boo! You can find values on the annual statements you receive, and if you don't have those, phone the customer help desk of your provider and ask for a statement to be sent. All financial service providers will be very happy to do this, and it is a very common request. If I haven't included your specific category, then there is room at the bottom to add your own categories. Add up all your assets and total up all your debts or liabilities. Then deduct the debts from the assets to find out your total net worth. When I did this for the first time, I absolutely amazed myself. I thought I would be in negative net worth, and then I found out I was actually worth £16,000 more than I thought I was. I had forgotten 2 endowment policies that I'd taken out years before. This wealth coaching stuff works, I thought. I feel wealthier already. The Pound Future column. It was a big surprise to me that you can estimate what you'll be worth at some time in the future. You choose. It can be 1 year, 3 years, 5 years, or even 10 years away. If you assume that certain types of investment appreciate on average at a certain percentage year on year, you can work it out. If you have an asset worth, say, £10,000 and you know that this kind of asset appreciates at about 10% per year, then by the end of year 1 it will be worth £11,000. By the end of year 3 it will be worth £13,310. Year 5, £16,105, and year 10, £25,937. Can I have a receipt, please? Receipts fill in the knowledge gaps between your bank and your credit card statements, especially if you make a lot of cash withdrawals. Think about it. If you sat down for one morning at the end of each month, you would be able to tell what you'd spent by direct debit or standing order, cheque or cash, but only if you had the cash receipts. Try and get into the habit of paying by debit card unless you're trying to stick to a budget by taking out a fixed amount of cash per week and trying to live on that, as it lists the shop name on your bank statement and helps you figure out what you spent where. But if you can't use a debit card and you like to use real money, then just ask for a receipt for absolutely everything you buy, no matter how little. Self-employed people are usually pretty good at this for their business, but it never occurs to them to run their personal finances like a business too. Don't worry, for the time being, about what to do with all of those pieces of paper. Just collect them religiously. Get into the habit of asking for a receipt for every purchase you make. It's easier to ask for a receipt every time than trying to remember what you need receipts for or not. Tuck them immediately inside your purse, an envelope in your bag, or a plastic wallet in your Filofax. Just have one place in your bag, purse or coat where you put every receipt you get. Then, at the end of the day, empty it out into just one place in your home or office. Once a week, move them into one of the plastic wallets in your lever arch file and label the wallet Receipts Week Ending and then put the date. And then you can just forget about them for the time being. I'll just get the file out. Mark Forster, best-selling author on time management, says that when you tend to procrastinate about doing essential tasks, the best thing to say to yourself is, I'll just get the file out. I'll go one further here and ask you to think to yourself, when each week is the best time for me to just get the file out on my finances? Unless you schedule some regular time to look at your finances, you'll never get round to it. The receipts will pile up and it will swiftly become a psychologically insurmountable task. But if you schedule some time, you must, and find a way to make it enjoyable. Make yourself a nice cappuccino to sip while you work. Put on some classical music. Bach is supposed to be the best music for aiding concentration. Ask a buddy around to help you, or get them to come around and do theirs with you. Make it nice, make it fun, but find a way to make sure you do it. Your future financial success depends on getting into good new habits now. Your future financial success depends on getting into good habits now. Start slowly. Don't expect to be able to change the habits of a lifetime overnight. If you can just get into the habit of collecting the information you need and keeping it tidy, you'll have all the tools at your fingertips for when you're ready to move to the next stage. Make time. If you schedule some time each week, you should be able to do everything required to become a financial whiz kid in about 2 hours maximum. Saturday or Sunday mornings, or even Monday mornings are good. So are Monday evenings. Something about the end of the week or the beginning of the week. Perhaps you want to take a day off just to get started and get it all under control. Or use that dead week between Christmas and New Year. So, when are you going to just get the file out? Get support. You could talk to your partner, spouse, etc. and tell them how you want to get a handle on your money, and tell them the time you've set aside to do it. Ask for their support by not distracting you or tempting you with offers of more exciting things to do. I promise you, as your financial intelligence increases, as you take more action, and as your wealth creation gathers pace, this will swiftly become one of the more exciting things to do that allows you to do even more exciting things. Saving versus investing. I never understood the point of saving. What did you save for? Things you were going to buy later, of course. Well, why not have them now? I didn't understand the difference between saving and investing at all. And with the low interest rates for savings, I couldn't really see the point. I totally didn't get the power of compounding. Nobody told me that it isn't what you earn that counts, it isn't what you spend even that counts. What really counts is what you keep. Nobody said that the reason wealthy people are wealthy is because they're taught to put an extra step, like a fuel filter if you like, in between the action of earning and the action of spending. That extra step is investing. Investing in assets that produce income all by themselves. That extra step is investing. Investing in assets that produce income all by themselves. Then, in 1998, I saw a drawing that changed my life. It explained the point of saving to invest. I saw the power of compounding in one little drawing, and you can see it on page 19 of the book. It was in a book called Swimming with Piranhas Makes You Hungry by Colin Turner, right near the end of the book. I had to read that book 5 times to actually see that drawing properly, but I finally did. It blew my mind. What does all the lines on the drawings mean? The solid line is your income, the dashed line your outgoings, the black arrow being the difference between the two, what you keep, and the dotted line, the interest your savings or other investments can earn you, taking into account the power of compounding. When the dotted line crosses the dashed line, you are financially free. Forget the million, it can be as soon as you like. The bigger the gap between your income and your outgoings, the faster the dotted line will climb to cross your dotted dashed line. The bigger the gap between your income and outgoings, the faster the dotted line will climb to cross your dashed line. This is the really exciting thing about it. If you can make the gap between what you spend and what you This is the really exciting bit. If you can make the gap between what you earn and what you spend grow wider and wider, then the dotted line will climb faster and faster as the income from your investments increases. Why does it climb so steeply? You're watching the beauty of appreciation or interest building on appreciation or interest. It's compounding at work, and we're going to go more into that subject later. Take your financial driving test. You wouldn't expect to get in a car, never having driven before, blindfolded, no seatbelt, hanging your legs out of the window, drinking champagne, driving the wrong way up the motorway in the wrong lane, and not end up in a car crash, would you? Well, so many people take their first excursion into wealth creation with no skills, no training, no advice, and no mentor or coach. So it's no wonder they usually come a cropper. How many folk do you know who buy a share on the stock market based on a hot tip from the bloke in the pub, then wonder why they end up losing money? How many people leave their job and start a business doing something they love to do as a hobby, then wonder why they end up as one of the 85% whose business fails in the first year? How many people invest in buy-to-let, then wonder why their hot property sits empty, or worse, ends up being squatted by a bad tenant? The key to all this financial malarkey is to know yourself. First of all, you must know if you're an impulsive, impetuous type, liable to jump in feet first and give up if it doesn't work first time. Or perhaps you are more cautious and a soul who never takes action unless you know all the facts and figures and have the proof in front of you, so you end up never taking action at all. The other reason that you must know yourself is so that you can choose your road to wealth to suit your personality type. I have mentioned before that I never saved because the interest rates were so pathetic. I figured that on the amount I could afford to save, I'd be dead before I'd accumulated enough money to be comfortable, let alone wealthy. Typical savings rates in those days were between 4 to 6%, if you put it in a building society. They're even lower now, I believe. So would you be amazed if I told you that business angels investing in fledgling startup companies expect around a 30 to 35% return on their money year on year, and their money back? Would you be amazed if I told you that I'd met a property investor who won't invest in a property unless he gets a 100% return on his money year on year? And that is based on just rental income, not capital appreciation. You need to decide which lane of the wealth highway you're going to tackle first. Get a book, take some training, find a mentor, get started, by all means, as quickly as... Decide which lane of the wealth highway you're going to tackle first. Get a book, take some training, find a mentor, get started, by all means, as quickly and inexpensively as possible, but get help. I recently went on a property investment course that cost £1,800. Expensive? I learnt 2 things that made me a minimum of £40,000. Starting to look cheap now. You can learn this stuff, and you should be ready to invest in training in the same way you paid for your driving lessons. And if you're finding yourself resisting that idea, think about the hot tips from the bloke in the pub. How good is free advice really if it ends up costing you money with an expensive mistake? Usually the reason the advice is free is because it's absolutely worthless. Here's an action step for you. Pull out all the loose change in your pocket right now or your purse and work out how much you would have in 10 years if you achieved a 100% return on your very small change year on year for 10 years, doubling your money every year in effect. Perhaps you're more interested in saving to invest now, starting to find some motivation to find a way to liberate some cash to put it to work for you. Would you be interested in finding out how to achieve a 35 to 100% return on your money? Well, you're in the right place. We're going to cover that later in this book. Your wealth team. Though the bloke in the pub may be full of useless advice, which is why it's free, there are people worth listening to. Find a great bank manager, usually a business bank manager rather than a personal manager. Imagine how many businesses they see per week. They see the good and the bad, the ones that are successful despite themselves, and the ones that fail even though the idea is good. My bank manager, who was Mike Murray from NatWest Bank in Worthing, was a brilliant bloke. He was generous with his time in spite of the pressures on him, and I knew I was on to a winner when he told me he had a drawer full of business ideas himself. He's now a seasoned property investor. He owns a successful coffee shop in Worthing and is looking forward to a very comfortable retirement indeed. A good accountant can help you set things up well for you before you even start. Mark Nicholson from Spoffles in Worthing set up my companies in such a way, legally, that I will save a great deal of tax over the years. I would never have in a million years have known what he knows. I can't recommend Mark highly enough, 10 years on. A great solicitor will help you avoid legal problems you may not even know about. I now have many wealth creation buddies and mentors, people who are more financially successful than I am and who love to talk about what they've been up to. They're inspirational, knowledgeable, supportive, aspirational, and they love to share what they know. One of my old friends, who is very wealthy indeed and inspired me tremendously, told me once that she used to write shopping lists that included pick up the dry cleaning, go see mum, and have a Mercedes soft top by the age of 30 years. And when I think that I might never have met Jill Fielding, well, I just shudder at the thought. In the same way, avoid people who are negative about everything or who are energy vampires. They will come out of the woodwork as you become more interested in wealth creation and finance, and it always amazes me how much energy they will put into trying to discredit what you're learning about or trying to do, rather than improving their own lives. There is even one chap in the USA who has a whole website devoted to investigating Russ Whitney and Robert Allen, two famous wealth creation gurus. I have to wonder why he doesn't get on with his own wealth creation instead of trying to debunk others. Here's another action step for you. Make a list of all the people you spend significant amounts of time with. Work colleagues, friends, family, and anyone else you may network with. Put a tick next to their name if they're positive, supportive, and successful in their own right. Use your own definition of success here. Start to identify who could be in your wealth team and begin to ask some searching questions. If you want to get involved in property investment, for example, then ask everyone you meet, and particularly everyone you're thinking of including in your wealth team, these kind of questions. Are you a property investor? How many properties do you have? What is your investment strategy? By the way, strategy just means plan. If you're interested in starting your own business, ask them if they have any other businesses on the side. What are they? What the plan is for that business? If they answer in the negative, go and find people who are involved and already active in what you want to do. Surround yourself with action-orientated people. Why would they talk to you and tell you their business? Because successful people have an abundance mentality, that's why. They love to share what they know and they love to learn from other people. For all they know, you may be able to teach them something new. And you will one day. The magic wand. So, you're still with us then. I bet you couldn't wait for this part of the book, The Magic Wand. When I was a little girl, I really believed that I was a princess in disguise, and that soon my real parents, a king and queen obviously, would come and reclaim me. Then as I got older, I was convinced that a prince would recognise my innate royalty and elevate me to the status of princess and the financial life I aspired to. Well, eventually the truth dawned on me. Sorry, that there are no magic wands, no knights in shining armour, And then I realised that if I was going to achieve my financial potential, it was all down to me. And how much time have I wasted already? Babe, I said to myself, you will just have to take some action now. But I consoled myself with the thought that doing something 30 times makes it a habit. If you just ask for a receipt 30 times, it will become second nature. If you just get the file out 30 times, you will be in the business of sitting down to spend some time on your money. If you ask 29 people if they're property investors and they all say no, chances are the 30th will say yes. Above all, I reminded myself not to give up if it seems overwhelming. Just get help. Take a class, attend a weekend seminar, or get a coach. So I did, and the happy ending is coming faster than I dreamed possible. Since I started this process, I've accelerated my financial growth dramatically over the last 3 years, catching up for 20 years of waiting for the prince, the king and the queen, and the knight in shining armour. I'm busy polishing my own armour and all of my crowns now too. And you can. Play games with wealth creation. We're going to go into all of this in a lot more detail, but get creative. Draw a grid for each debt with a square for each repayment you will make on each debt, and colour each square in every time a standing order goes off or a direct debit goes out. Buy the brilliant board game invented by Robert Kiyosaki, Cashflow 101, and practice wealth creation with pretend money first. Or come along to one of the Money Gym's Cashflow days. You can find out more about our events at www.themoneygym.com/blog. Join an investment club, there's some more about that in the equities module, and make money while making new friends. The more fun this is, the more likely you are to take action. Find a buddy who's into this wealth creation malarkey as much as you are, and get your partner spouse on your side and excited about the possibilities of financial freedom for them too. Find a mentor or get a coach, one who's actually doing the things you aspire to do now. But whatever you do, do something.